Hello, welcome. Little Tampa Bay Buccaneers content on the channel. Well, mid-December? Yeah, that's definitely the vibe. So, obviously the Buccaneers get the win today, and we can talk about all that good stuff. It's actually kind of a perfect game when you think about it, right? Tampa Bay Buccaneers play well on defense, force a couple turnovers, right? They play well on offense. Baker Mayfield, despite throwing an interception, certainly having at least one bad play in there for sure. Really a fantastic game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers rushing attack, sensational. Mike Evans, able to do some Mike Evans-esque things. Really, for the first time this year, you saw Mike Evans look like Mike Evans of last year and years prior. So very fun. But we don't talk about the basic stuff here in the channel. We always dive to it's just more specific things that I feel like a lot of people don't touch on because they need touching. One take that's really bugging me here in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers community is about Todd Bowles. Now, Todd Bowles, the very first thing, one of the very first things I saw from someone following the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game today was that Todd Bowles needs to be fired. The first thing the Bucs do in the offseason is fire Todd Bowles and replace him with Liam Cohen. Now, I'm not here to down Liam Cohen in the slightest. That could be for a separate video at some point, maybe down the line, we talk about Liam Cohen. I'm just here to talk about Todd. Now, me personally, I'm out on Todd. Now, I've been the biggest defender of Todd Bowles for a very long time. This channel, right, featured on other channels, I have really stood up for Todd Bowles a lot of the time. I've been against him sometimes, but a lot of the time, I make excuses for Todd Bowles. I do think at times he can be underrated. He does bring value, and I also feel almost compelled to at times, and this is going to be one of them, because the amount of, hatred that's out there for Todd Bowles and disrespect for what he has done, I think is unwarranted. Now, the reason I'm really out on Todd Bowles is because of the Chris Godwin injury. Now, this is totally coincidence, and you can't really see fully, but I got a Chris Godwin t-shirt on. I'm a big Chris Godwin guy. The way Todd Bowles, to me, handled that moment and Chris Godwin's injury, I'm out on Todd Bowles, right? Because I think Chris Godwin's career as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer is a special one that should be celebrated, and to have it end in such an unceremonious way, in something that was so easily avoidable, yeah, that falls on the coach, falls on Todd. It was his decision. Yeah, no. Doesn't fly for me. However, Todd Bowles, to say that Todd Bowles should be fired and replaced by Liam Cohen is a take that I've heard in the past. Obviously, I heard it in the present, and I feel as though I'm going to hear it many times in the future as we head into the offseason, and rumors will circulate about Liam Cohen, obviously getting interviews, head coaching jobs elsewhere. Now, the problem with that take is, at what point do we give Todd Bowles credit, right? And I understand Todd Bowles is not beloved, not in the slightest, but to say that it's multifaceted, right? Todd Bowles, if things trend the way they're trending, and the Bucs continue the season the way it is, the Bucs will make the playoffs as either the 3 or the 4 seed, right? And they'll host a home playoff game. What happens from there? We'll see. But if that's the case, then Todd Bowles will have had 3 shots at being the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach. He will have gone to the playoffs 3 times, and he will have won at least 1 playoff game. To me, it's hard to fire a guy who has done that. And again, this is not, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think there's a lot of, how quickly we forget, right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not, the San Francisco 49ers. They're not the Kansas City Chiefs. They're actually, historically speaking, much closer to a team like the Detroit Lions, okay? Or the Cleveland Browns, right? That's more where the Buccaneers, historically speaking, are. So for the Buccaneers for Bucs fans to turn a blind eye to the success that Todd Bowles has had, it's very disrespectful, right? You can dislike some of his game management. I think we all do. You can dislike some of his roster and personnel decisions. I think we all do. You can definitely dislike the fact that if it's 3rd down and 6 or more, Todd Bowles will blitz more than 50% of the people on the field at the quarterback. I think we all do at times. However, it's disrespectful to dismiss the things that he has done that are positive, because there are some there. And to say it after a game like today is so disingenuous, because what does Todd Bowles really need to do, right? I understand the Buccaneers offense put up 40 points, and bravo to Liam Cohen. But Todd Bowles held Justin Herbert and company to 17. And Todd Bowles deserves a lot of credit for that. And he also deserves credit for that because of not just the output, but who he was able to accomplish that with, right? Todd Bowles did that with safeties and, frankly, mostly a defense of roster that the average NFL fan, potentially the average Bucs fan, couldn't point out the names of the players on the field, right? Ryan Neal signed this week off the couch. He was playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today, right? Christian Izzian's been bouncing around from nickel corner to safety this year. He's in there. Kayvon Merriweather, right? He was with the Bucs, then he leaves the Bucs, now he's back with the Bucs, and he's starting games for you. These are the players that Todd Bowles is forced to work with. I mean, the Buccaneers defense this year, while it's been certainly, you can be critical of the group, it has been Levante David, Vita Vea, and some paper clips. And for Todd Bowles to take that crew and produce what he produced today, you got to give him some credit. And, I don't want to be the person standing up here on this hill. I'm going to defend Todd Bowles. But clarity is important and context is crucial. Todd Bowles' season, the season for the Buccaneers has been flawed for the most part due to injury. And while you can certainly blame Todd Bowles for how he practices players, how he's managed injuries, that's fair game. But it's hard to not account for how many injuries the Bucs have had to deal with and give Todd Bowles credit at times for how he has navigated through them. Right? The Buccaneers tackled much better today. They forced 2 turnovers today. Jamel Dean got his first interception, it feels like, in 8 years today. And he hasn't even been in the league for 8 years, I don't think. So, for the Bucs to have the game they had today and to look at it from a one-sided, one-dimensional perspective, yes, Liam Cohen scored 40. He should be the answer. Well, if we're promoting a good coordinator to head coach because they're a good coordinator, isn't that exactly what the Bucs did with Todd Bowles? Just because you're a good coordinator does not mean you're a good head coach. And the other thing that bothers me is this is the same argument that I heard last year. Todd Bowles has got to be fired because the Bucs got to promote Dave Canales to head coach. Okay, and I liked Dave Canales, right? But at what point do you give Todd Bowles credit there too? Who's hiring these candidates? Who's going through the interview process with these coaches? Who's bringing them to Tampa Bay? It's Todd Bowles. And again, Todd Bowles deserves credit for being able to find a coordinator, right? Get rid of Byron Leftwich. We all know that was much needed. Find a coordinator and out of the blue, nobody had Dave Canales on their radar. And in 1 year, that coordinator becomes head coach material. Granted, just for the Carolina Panthers. Who knows if any other team would have taken him, but still, head coach material by some team in the league. And then immediately bounce back and find another coordinator that wasn't on a lot of radars either. And all of a sudden, people are talking about him as a head coach. So maybe Todd Bowles deserves a pat on the back there. Whatever he's doing, that interview process that he's going through, the questions he's asking when he gets those potential candidates in there for hire, it's working. So again, how can you hold a guy responsible in a negative way for the people he's bringing on his staff being successful? Come on. That's absurd. Okay? If a manager hires a bunch of good employees who then become managers at other establishments just because there's no manager opportunity at the current establishment, you don't fire the manager. You're like, my gosh, well done. You're doing a great job getting good quality people in this organization and in this business. And Todd Bowles is doing that. I don't think Todd Bowles, I don't want to defend the guy because I do think Todd Bowles is fireable for a lot of different reasons. But to say it after today, when the Bucs go cross country, West Coast game against a good team, and they play the best they've played in a long time, and the defense was a part of that, a huge part of that, a shutout in the second half. What are you talking about? Keep it full with your perspective. Don't just get tunnel vision. Yes, the offense scored 40. Okay. Todd Bowles' defense let up 17 and didn't let up a single point after halftime. That's highly, highly impressive. And it deserves credit. Kayvon Merriweather started today. At the start of the season, if I asked you who Kayvon Merriweather was, how many people would have raised their hand and said, I know the answer? He's a starting safety for the Buccaneers.